And joining us now to take a look at how the Trump victory will impact the party moving forward is Gloria Pazmino. And Gloria, Nikki Haley had high hopes going into Tuesday night's vote, but fell flat. And how much longer do you think she will stay in this race?
Well, Cynthia, Haley was definitely disappointed by last night's results here in New Hampshire. As much as she is trying to be positive and say that she is going to carry on and push ahead in this race, it's going to be very hard for her campaign to make the case that they have a path forward. Nikki Haley had expected to have an upset here in New Hampshire last night, particularly because she had been targeted New Hampshire's independent undeclared voters, and that simply just did not happen for her. So she says that she wants to push ahead to South Carolina. That is the next step in the nominating process, but it's going to be a difficult challenge. South Carolina is Haley's home state. It's the state where she was governor, but it's also a state that has historically gone for Trump, where Trump has a lot of support, including the current governor and much of the congressional delegation. So it would be very embarrassing and devastating for the Haley campaign if she were to go on to South Carolina only to lose it. So the next few days will be crucial as she continues to try and make the case that there's still a reason for her to stick it out until South Carolina.
Now, Gloria, Trump won with almost 55% of the vote. So let's talk about the margin here. What does it say about voters in New Hampshire and how this process might play out in the coming weeks? Is this all but inevitable that Trump is going to take this?
Well, look, the process has to play out as it usually does. We have a process in this country, even if there are some candidates who want to say or change that process. We have to go state by state. We get all the way to Super Tuesday, where more than a dozen states cast their votes. And then there's going to be a Republican convention where the candidate has to be formally nominated by the members of the party. It does appear to be the case that Trump is going to secure that nomination, but a lot could happen between now and the summer, which is when the convention is scheduled. Remember, Trump is still facing 91 charges, 4 different criminal court cases against him, so a lot could happen. But you talk about the margin here in New Hampshire, and that's important because Nikki Haley had actually been hoping that if she didn't win, that at least she would only lose by a few points. Trump is ahead of her by 11 points, so it's a real difference here. And what it means is that Haley's push to target independent voters here in the state really did not work out. We're also learning a little bit about the voters here in New Hampshire. About half of them said that if Trump were to be convicted of a crime, they would still consider him fit for office. So that is an interesting sort of piece of information from the voters as we move ahead in this process with these legal cases still looming in the background. We are going to move through the process and we'll see just how much longer Haley can actually hang on and how much more support Trump could potentially rack up.
Do you think she's hanging on in the hopes that his legal issues will somehow push him out of this race?
Look, it's a possibility that she is hoping for that, but I think Trump is also hoping that his legal issues will help him in this race, that he will appeal to voters who think that the criminal cases against him are unfounded or unfair. And as we said, the poll shows that some would still find him to be fit for the presidency, even if he were convicted. So I think the Trump campaign is banking on that type of voter to still support him, even if he were to be convicted. If that's the case, you know, here in the United States, we're going to be facing a big constitutional question about whether or not we can have a president who's been convicted of a crime. I think the Nikki Haley campaign is hoping that that perhaps may drive some voters to her side, but it hasn't happened in the last two contests. It didn't happen in Iowa. It didn't happen here in New Hampshire. And it's not clear that it's going to happen in South Carolina.
A fascinating time in U.S. politics. Thank you very much, Gloria.